All right, so to do this really fast, this is lesson 4, exercise 5. In the actual homework, it's called exercise 3 through 5 from homework 1. Pretty sure this is the right one. Go ahead and share my screen with you guys. Okay, so run Wiley Plus. There's exercise 3 through 5, like I was saying. Should be a pretty easy question for everyone right now, just because it's everything we've been doing, but this top part right here is just in a different format from what we've been using. Because usually it just lists off everything, and then we go through and we're like, oh, which one, this one, and this one. So right here, it's just nice in an actual sheet for us. But going to the first part, we have the income statement. And we know from the income statement that we have to have right below it is for the month ended August 31st, 2017. It's not a balance sheet or retains earnings or anything else like that. Obviously on the income statement, we have the revenues first. So I came up here and I was looking for the revenues in this column, and we see that there was $10,600 into the service revenue. And so I just typed in service revenue right here, typed in 1060 or 600, and that was the only revenues I was able to see. And so then I knew that expenses were next, and I found the rent expense, the salaries and wages expenses, and the utilities expense all right here. So here's the rent expense, it's 700 in expenses. Got to remember that little negative sign right there. It's pretty important for future homework too. And the salary expenses, same thing, and the utility expenses, same thing. And so then we just total them all up, these three numbers right here, and it's 3,320. You have your net income, and then you just take your revenues and your expenses, and that equals 7,280. You scroll down to the retained earnings statement. You say for the month ended August 31st, 2017. We look for retained earnings on August 1st. Come up here. Like, well, do I see any retained earnings? Is there anything? There's service revenue, dividends, expenses, common stock. Not really anything going on. So we know that retained earnings is going to be 0. Oh, whoops, too far. So that's going to be 0. But then you get to add your net income. We got the net income from the income statement right here, 7,280. So then you take the retained earnings from August 1st, which is 0. Then you add the net income, which is 7,280, which shockingly gives you $7,280. But then you got to remember that on the retained earnings statement, you need to do less the dividends. You don't want to add the dividends because you're not adding money, you're taking away money, and you're trying to pay all your stockholders. And so I found the 2,300 right up here where it says dividends. Come down the column, negative 2,300, DIV stands for dividends. And then you subtract those two numbers, the 7,280 minus the 2,300, and then your retained earnings for August 31st is now 4,980. Once you have that, then you're able to go to your actual balance sheet. Now the date on the balance sheet is a little different. It's August 31st, 2017. You're going to grab your current assets first, because we know this right here, it's assets, so it's going to be current. And same right here, liabilities. You're going to have your current liabilities, and then it's going to be stockholders' equity. So stockholders' equity. So it's kind of just looking up at all those columns. So you see the cash is 12,270. So you come up here, you say cash, where are you at? All right, looks like we have to add and subtract all, well, not all the columns across, just right here. So you just add up those for the total on the cash column, and it will equal 12,270. Then you get the accounts receivable, 5,930. It's very similar. You go to accounts receivable underneath the assets, that's the A/R. You do the same thing. You just take 6,300 minus 370. You get 5,930. And supplies is also another current asset. So you go back up to the top, do a lot of scrolling, see that it's 900. There's nothing else in the supply column. So you scroll on back down, put supplies, 900. And then you total up your current assets because there's nothing else there. And it's $19,100. You have your equipment for $4,950. And that's right here underneath the assets as well. 4,950, there's nothing else. So you scroll all the way back down. And then you total them up, your total current assets plus your equipment gives you your total assets of $24,050. So then it's time for liabilities and stockholders' equity. You have your current liabilities first. And we know that it's either going to be accounts payable or it's going to be notes payable first. And so this one's going to be accounts payable. 970. You come up right here, liabilities and accounts payable. And you see, boom, right there. Do the math on that one. It's going to leave you 970, right? Yep. Should add all those together. 970. And then where am I? Right here. So then you have the stockholders' equity is next. We know that every time it's going to be common stock and then retained earnings. So to find the common stock, scroll all the way back up again. See right here, it's going to be common stock. Apologize. So it's going to be underneath the stockholders' equity and the retained earnings. So there's revenues, expenses, dividends. So we know common stock's right here. And it's going to be underneath this column, so it's going to be 18,100. And we just put that right here. And you have your retained earnings. And we got the retained earnings from the retained earnings statement. So you take the 4,980 that we got here, and we plug it in right here. And then you have your total stockholders' equity. And it's going to equal to 23,080. And you have your total liabilities and stockholders' equity. So you just add these two together. It goes $24,050. And that is it.